Oh, good. Goody goody gumdrops. All right. We're live. Woo! Just gotta do one more thing. Let's share it so we can get some peeps coming over, hanging out with us. Okay. Thank you for being patient while we get all tech stuff. All right. Okay. So a couple different things before we get started. One, there's a little bit of a lag, so please, because of technology, so please share your comments, your feedback, your questions in the chat. And then what I'll do is I'll periodically stop what I'm doing and come over and check and see what needs to happen. Okay. So the more engaging, the more sharing you do, the more comments, the better, and the more fabulousness this will be. Okay. All right. And feel free to, if you're listening and you're on the live and you're like, oh, this is amazing, feel free to share it with your people as well. Okay. All right. Here we go. Wait, one more thing. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Trauma Recovery Tuesdays. And I'm Gaia, I'm your host, Gaia Morrissette. I am a holistic sexual wellness specialist and a trauma specialist. And I believe the keys to a happy, healthy, wealthy, epic, magical, and orgasmic life is sexual wellness, embracing the human experience, and letting go of all fear, shame, guilt, and self-loathing. And I do this through speaking, training, and coaching. What I do in the world is I help the world heal from trauma. That's a big part of the work that I do. And I created Trauma Recovery Tuesdays because I do, as a holistic sexual wellness specialist, I do many, many things in the world. And sometimes those things may not be trauma safe, so to speak, or trauma ready. That's a better way of putting it. And I wanted to create a beautiful, safe space in which we could talk about healing and growth and trauma without you feeling overwhelmed by something that you may not be ready for, because the human experience and human sexuality is very, very large. And the other part of why I created Trauma Recovery Tuesdays is because not only from a professional standpoint, I do a lot of trauma healing, but on a personal level, I have overcome and healed from severe childhood sexual trauma, as well as I endured satanic ritual abuse as a child. So I really, really wanted to help you share my knowledge and my experience with you, moving from that place of victim to that place of survivor, to that place of eventually getting to thriving and moving in not at feeling like you're broken or you're wounded or your wounds or your scars are defining how you live your life. And so that's why Trauma Recovery Tuesdays was born. Okay. All right. So our topic today, food and trauma. And I wanted to share this topic because I have a lot of trauma around food, and a couple different reasons. So first of all, a little bit of background on some health stuff for me. It's because of all my trauma. I've had a lot of health issues over my life. And one of the things that has been a big problem for me is that I have celiac, meaning that I cannot eat gluten, or I get very, very ill, and it destroys my villi, and I can't absorb any nutrients from any food. And so I'm celiac. And the other thing is I'm allergic to dairy, and I have a lot of food allergies. And so, and those food allergies also cause a lot of distress from a place of, I have a lot of digestion issues and irritable bowel, and pretty much from my GI tract, from my mouth all the way out to my ass. There's been a lot of stuff going on there, and it's caused a lot of trauma. And so I'm back on the horse again of trying to sort out and reclaim, because I really believe in my whole being that everything can be healed. Everything can be overcome, no matter how impossible it seems. And I really believe that. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm now back again being like, okay, it's time to revisit the digestion track, and let's see if I can like embrace and figure out how to heal that, because it goes hand in hand with my sleeping patterns, and it's interfering in my ability to sleep, which is also something that I'm working on, which we'll have another we'll have another trauma recovery Tuesday on sleep. That's another conversation altogether. So anyway, so I called my, Chinese medicine guy, and, part of my health team. And I said, okay, like, let's work on this again. Let's heal this. And he said to me, he's like, okay, so how's your eating your greens? Like, that's what your body needs. Your body needs these like big, these deep greens. And even now talking about it, I'm feeling very emotional. And as I was talking to him last week about it, he started talking about, oh, you can eat this and you can eat this and this. And I just started to bawl, because my experience with green vegetables is awful. I hate them. Sorry, I'm going to change that language. I hated them. I'm working on healing that. So, but my feeling at the time was I hated them. And the idea of them just repulsed me and made me want to vomit. And the idea that I was going to have to eat them, and that was what I was going to have to eat all the time, just made me like so defeated. And like my whole diet, I have so many dietary restrictions. Now I got to add food that I hate on top of things. So my reaction was way over the top. I get that I may not like the flavor of something or the taste of something, but I'm really creative. And so because I'm so creative, I can and a really good cook, I can find ways around that. But the fact that the idea of eating something that was green made me so emotionally distraught. I was like, whoa, what is happening here? So I had to all right, let's find out what kind of, why are we going down this overreactive phase and place? And so I dived in deep, and I went into, if you spend any time with me, I talk a lot about inner child work and inner children sanctuaries. So I have a wonderful inner child sanctuary where I get to have deep conversations with all the different childlike aspects of my personality, and which is basically, my subconscious, and have a little powwow and have a little chat. So I went in there and I had a conversation. And what I found out is that the reason that I don't like greens, it wasn't even a dislike. The reason I hated greens is because there was trauma around it, that I was forced to eat greens. And I was forced to sit there and eat my vegetables. And I was forced to sit there and eat my meal. And if I refused to eat that meal, then I was made to sit there for hours. And then I refused, because I was a very defiant child, as I am as an adult. I haven't changed much in that department. And I was made to sit there. And then I went to bed and without my dinner, because I didn't eat it. And then in the morning I woke up and my mother put it in front of me, the leftovers from the night before, and I didn't eat breakfast either. And she did it at lunch, and I refused at lunch, and finally she caved. But in that place of like pure defiance of, you will not make me eat this thing that I do not like. And on a bigger scale of things, like that's a lot of children don't like certain foods and stuff like that. And it's important that they eat them and stuff. And there's many different ways that you can go about helping a child to build a better relationship with that food. But in my day, it was, adults said what you did and then you caved, like, and I happened to live in a household where corporal punishment wasn't a thing, because if it had been a thing, I probably would have been beaten until I ate my greens. But the problem is that the reason for me why that was it was like a battle that I had to win, was because I was being abused sexually, and I didn't remember my abuse, and I was not having power over my body. And so the only thing that I could feel like I had control of was what I got to put in my mouth and what I got to consume. And so this started, in a way, often a lot of eating disorders and eating issues and things happen from this place of, when we feel completely out of control and powerless, the one area that we have control, especially as a child and there's trauma, is that what we consume and what we put in our mouth and what we don't put in our mouth. And so that became my thing around green vegetables and cooked vegetables. So it's like greens, cooked vegetables, and those two things landed me all the way. Okay, so now I'm like 44 years old. And I know that the importance of eating greens is like really, 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 really important, because it's going to help me heal my body. And I work out 6 days a week, and I'm training for an open swim marathon, and I do all sorts of other things to like support my body and to support my health. And so I have to choose to I have to choose to heal those old wounds and reclaim greens. And so I've started that process. And I share this with you because it may seem like, if you love green vegetables, you're like, I don't understand, Gaia, why is this a big deal? It's a big deal because I had almost created not only like this hatred for it, but an aversion to, almost a phobia of not eating things green. Like I would have, here's an extreme perfect thing. I would have a smoothie that might have greens in it to hide the flavor. But if I could see that it was green, I was like, this is disgusting. But if it was in a container that I couldn't tell that it was green, I would drink it. I'm like, oh, this is delicious. Like that's how crazy we can attach those anchors can be, and we believe it 100%, and we will do anything, even if it doesn't make any logical sense. Here's another great example. Somebody else recently told me that they ate a bean when they were a kid that tasted bad, and they decided that all beans were awful and refused to eat them, even to go so far as was given a jelly bean. And because it was called a jelly bean, which is pure sugar, they spit it out because it's a bean. So we all kind of create these things out of places that may not make sense, but we don't have to be victim to those things. We can consciously choose to heal them. So one of the things that I've been doing is, one, I've made a commitment to my health to become friends with greens. And one of the ways that helps me do some cognitive reprogramming is I do a mantra or an affirmation, and this tends to work really well for me. Each person's different, and I have it up on my mirror, and it says, greens are my friends. Green vegetables are my friends. Green vegetables are sexy. Because for me, anything, if I can make anything sexy, usually my being is like, yeah, I'm all over it. And so what's happening is that as I go through every time I'm in the grocery store, I pass past all the green vegetables that I used to be like, ugh, those are disgusting. Even looking at them, I would be reactive. Now I'm looking at them and I'm like, wow, that's a really pretty color. Green's a pretty color. I like green. Oh, that's nice. I wonder how I can make that taste yummy. Instead of being like, that's disgusting. I'm like, I wonder how I can make that taste yummy. And so and I just started that, I guess, 5 days ago. And so now I'm on this new adventure about greens. And the benefit of that is huge health benefits all across the board, and healing my body. So each week I've made a commitment that I'm going to take a green vegetable and I'm going to make friends with it. And we're going to go on an adventure, like a road trip adventure, a cooking adventure together. And we're going to find all the different possibilities that I can do with that particular green food. So this week it's been broccoli. And I got broccoli it's like confetter, it's like cut up really, really fine and cooking it like rice and using it in stir fries. And I'm having so much fun with it and it's tasting really good. But there was a lot of emotional stuff that had to go through that process. And then I think next week I'm going to work with zucchini. So I wanted just to share, your thing may not be about greens. Your thing may be about something else around food. And I really want you to take that point that I made about my, the idea that when we had trauma, the only thing that we could control was what we put in our mouth. So you may end up having an eating disorder of some sort. You may have an aversion to a particular food. There's a lot of different things that may have come out of that place of you trying to reclaim your power as a child. So if you need any support, you can find me at succulentliving.com. I put the comments in, I'll put the details on how to get a hold of me in the description of the video. Please join me for Trauma Recovery Tuesdays. It happens the first Tuesdays of every month. Every once in a while, we'll have a special co-host so that we can have some great conversations. So if you know anybody who works in the field or you work in the field of healing and trauma recovery, please reach out to me. You can find me on Facebook at Gaia Morrissette, or you can send me a message through Succulent Living, which is Gaia at succulentliving.com. And I hope you have a wonderful day of reclaiming your relationship with food and building your relationship with food. And I'm sure we will have many more food-related trauma conversations because there's a lot of stuff for people around food. Eating your feelings, like there's a lot of stuff. So I lovingly invite you to lean into your life, reclaim your power, and heal those wounds that no longer serve you. And have a wonderful day. And thanks for hanging out with me. Mwah. Bye-bye. Oh, one more thing. If you want to be in the loop and see all the videos and all the content all in one convenient location, come register for my trauma recovery list, and it'll make sure that you're only getting trauma recovery and healing content from me so that you're not getting some of the other stuff that I do out in the world. All right. Bye-bye.